What is good, everyone? This is the TARODCAST podcast, and I'm your host, Tarod Rashawn. I just want to say to all of the new listeners out here listening for the very first time, welcome. To all of the returning listeners coming back and rocking with us for another week, welcome back. As you already know, at TARODCAST, you can take everything we say with a grain of salt. We simply just want to add some flavor to your meal. So if we're doing that, then we are doing our job. We have a loaded show for you guys today. This is the 10th official episode, so we have to make it a loaded show because there's a lot of stuff that's been happening over the last week that I really want to dig into, and I'm actually really excited to dig into it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and introduce today's topic. Addicted to outrage. This is TARODCAST. Let's get it. All right, welcome everyone, welcome. Now, for today's episode, for those of you who are new, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, SoundCloud, CastBox, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, and also YouTube. That's right, we started adding our episodes to YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, type in TARODCAST, you will be able to find our most recent episodes there. I'm actually working to get the older ones on there, but if you want to catch up as far as episode 8 up till now, you will be able to listen to this podcast on YouTube if that is your preferred way to listen to podcasts. Now, today's topic is addicted to outrage, and this comes with a lot of details. But before we get into those details, what I want to do first is give honor and respect to those who lost their lives last Sunday. It was a very, very tragic event that took place within our country's borders, and we lost 9 people. Amongst those 9 were Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Gianna. And so I want to read their names and also do a 24-second moment of silence to pay respect to these people, these individuals who are lost. And so their names are Kobe and Gianna Bryant. His wife Vanessa and the Bryant family were affected by their loss. John, Carrie, and Alyssa Altobelli, and the Altobelli family who was affected by this loss. Christina Mauser and the Mauser family who was affected by this loss. Sarah and Peyton Chester and the Chester family who was impacted by this loss. And Ara Zobayan and the Zobayan family also impacted by this loss. At this time, we're going to take a 24-second moment of silence to honor those who were lost, those who died in that helicopter crash, and the families who were affected. I hope that when we think about the subject of death, we realize that for those whom we love, whether we knew them personally or not, we still have a right to feel. We still have a right to be compassionate. And in a situation like this that literally shook the world, I feel like there is both so much love being shown and also a lot of ignorance. And with that, I can only hope that the love will drown out the ignorance, because there are a lot of people who don't understand why some people are grieving so hard. And that's okay. They're not supposed to understand. But for those who are grieving in this moment, you have your time. Take your time and do what you need to do that feels necessary in order to allow yourself to get through this trying time. Now, what I want to do is talk a little bit about a very touchy subject, because I'm going to be starting off this podcast talking about racism. And I want to talk about my first encounter with racism. So, when I was about 17 years old, I was working at Chick-fil-A. I was working in the drive-thru window. I was taking people's money and passing out their food. And I remember there was a black car filled with two young black guys. They were ordering food, joking, playing, doing just what they do as young adults. And I remember giving them their food, and they sped right off. Well, afterwards, there was an older white man in a pickup truck who drove up to the window, and he appeared visibly and tonally angry. And I remember reading back his total. As a matter of fact, he had a number 5 chicken nugget meal, 12 count, with fries and a drink. And before I could even get the total out of my mouth to tell him how much he owed, he began to spout racial slurs at me in the angriest way possible. He began to tell me that people like me don't deserve to work. These sons of bitches cut me off. I can't believe people like you are or don't have respect in this world, and all kinds of things that, to me, at 17, I was not used to nor equipped to hear. And I remember as he was yelling and pointing his big, stubby, sausagey finger in my face, I had to walk away. I had to walk away because I did not know what else to do. Because me, being the person that I was at that time, I wasn't a person who was used to conflict. I wasn't a person who saw this type of treatment. I've only read about it. I've only heard about it. Never did I think it would actually drive up to my drive-through window and be present in that time. So I remember I left him at the window, and he was hollering and screaming and clamoring for a manager. And I remember the manager on duty walked up to the window and was basically trying to take control of the situation and also tell him to leave, because there were people in the restaurant. I remember there was an older white woman sitting basically in the same frame to see and also overhear the entire exchange. And when I went to the back, I went to the kitchen, and I went there for about 30 seconds just to regain my composure. And I walked back out, and he was still there. He was still there. And when I walked out, I saw him, and he saw me, and we made eye contact. And he was pointing again at me, saying, "That nigger right there, these niggers cut me off, and I'm just, I can't believe that they're even allowed to work." I'm like, that, just stuff like that. And I remember saying, man, seriously, you need to leave. You need to leave. And I couldn't get any closer, so I just walked back into the kitchen for another minute or so. And when I came back out, he was gone. And that was my first encounter with blatant racism. I can still hear his voice. I can vaguely remember his face. But that exchange, it showed me so much about this world. And so why did that particular experience stick with me? Well, it showed me the truth about people and how they truly are at their worst. Because you often get the truest part of a person at their angriest. When you see someone mad, where they are in a state of mind where they have little to no control over their emotions or their mouth, that's when you really see the truest part of a person. And I realized that there are people, firsthand, I realized there are people out here that are waiting for a moment to explode on the wrong person. Some people react in different ways. I know there's a lot of people that probably would not have reacted the way that I did. Matter of fact, they may have dove out the window and started trying to get into a fist fight with the guy. But from the kind of guy that he looked like, it looked like he carried a pump action rifle in his passenger seat. And me being 17 at the time, I had no idea the level of hatred that could exist in a person such as that. And it was shocking because I was blamed for actions that really had nothing to do with me. But I became the scapegoat simply for being black. And when I think about that now, it's funny that there are people out here so small-minded to do that kind of thing, to put out so much hate for someone that literally had nothing to do with the situation you were in. His situation was an isolated incident. I don't know the history. All he was saying was that the car in front of him cut him off and they flipped him off, and all this other stuff. But I did none of that. But because I looked like the hand he saw out of the window, he decided that I may as well have been the person behind the driver's seat. And as unfair as that is, it is a reality. So what did I feel? For me, I felt confused because at this point I was trying to figure out, why am I the target of all of this hate when all I'm doing is taking orders? I'm just exchanging money and passing food out. Why am I the target? I also felt angry because in my mind, up until this point, all I knew was about the civil rights movement and the visible demonstrations of hate being shown towards people of color. But this is the 2000s. A lot of that you don't see anymore. But I saw it. So it reminded me that it still existed. And I was angry at that. And lastly, I was hurt. Because to be verbally abused and verbally harassed by someone I didn't even know, it was devastating. It's one of those situations where you might not be in the wrong. But if the right or the wrong person makes you feel like you're in the wrong, then if they make you feel like that, they've won. I knew I had no responsibility for those two guys' actions. But this man was so intent in making me feel like I was colluding with these guys that it hurt, because me, I was probably one of the most peaceful people I knew at that time for my age. Hell, I was still a Christian back then. And so I know this is not, people like that, they're God-fearing Americans. I know that this is not what the love of Jesus is supposed to look like or feel like. And so I was hurt. I was truly hurt. But I soon realized that the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter. Some people out here just simply hate that I even exist. Unfortunately, nothing will change that. But it is not my job to change that. At that time, I did not understand just how deep hatred for someone could cut. I didn't. But when I recount this situation and I look at it through my adult years, through my adult eyes, I realize that I've grown up and I have begun to understand that people who hate, while their voices are loud, their logic and their intelligence is severely and supremely lacking. They do not possess the ability to have emotional control or honest, factual, and intellectual conversations and arguments. They don't. And in realizing that, I realized just how much power I have, because I have taken time to master myself, even at my angriest, to understand who I am as a person and who I am when I am angry. A lot of people don't do that. And when you don't, you get situations like that, especially with some unfavorable and unsavory people. People who are just ready to fly off the hinges at any given moment, whether or not something bad happens to them or inconveniences them. They are ready to fly off the hinges and say whatever and do whatever to satisfy their anger. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. Going to get some water. And we're going to talk about the value of the N-word to me. This is TARODCAST, and we'll be right back. Yo, welcome to the commercial break. This is Tarod Rashan, your host of the TARODCAST podcast, and you already know what time it is. It's hydration time. Go get you some water. You already know I'm staying hydrated, and I am not about to have any of my listeners dying of thirst while listening to TARODCAST, because we have a lot to cover, and I'm very excited. For all of you who are listening and you are loving what you are hearing, thank you. To all of our Patreon supporters, thank you. We know you love what we're doing, and we do not take that for granted. If you are listening and you would like to support us on our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/TARODCAST. This link is also going to be in every single episode of our show notes. So if you forget what that link is by the time this commercial break is over, don't worry. Check the show notes. You'll see it right there. Now on Patreon, this allows our supporters to support us with a monthly subscription. And we have 3 3 tiers of service. We have a $2 tier, a $3 tier, and also a $6 tier. We wanted to keep these subscription prices low because we understand you are working extremely hard for your money, and anything that you give towards the TARODCAST is highly appreciated. We thank you so much. And so if you'd like to support and learn about the different perks that each tier offers, go to www.patreon.com/TARODCAST to find out more. Also, if you want to support us in a non-financial way, we love that too. If your favorite podcast streaming service allows you to rate and review your podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you love about the TARODCAST. We appreciate hearing everyone's feedback, and that's going to help us to rise in the ranks when it comes to podcasts that are out here in the world. So leave us a review, rate us 5 stars. We really appreciate that. Also, if you want to reach us directly, email us at tarodcast@CRTN-T.com. That's tarodcast@CRTN-T.com. Thank you very much for your time. Now let's get back to the program. All right, we are back. I hope everybody got hydrated. Now, I probably should have said this in the beginning of the show, but this episode particularly is going to contain strong and offensive language. And so if you're at this point and you would like to continue listening, then I do appreciate that. If you'd rather not hear language that is offensive, then I also understand that, and I respect that. But we're now going to talk about the value of the N-word to me. That N-word being nigger. Now, as I have grown into my adult years, I'm turning 30 this year, as a matter of fact. There were some things that I really had to sort out in my own head in order to really solidify what I feel about this word. And for me, I have come to the conclusion that for me and only me, this is just me, not asking anybody else to adopt this opinion. Whether you agree or disagree with it, it's up to you. Take it with a grain of salt. But to me, it does not hold value. Whether I say it or it's said to me by someone black or non-black. Because during this time, I've learned that anyone that chooses to use this word, especially if they are not black, and they use it in a sense to try and tear me down or demean me, all they're trying to do is reach for an emotional reaction from me. And this lets me know a couple different things. If they do that, say I'm in an argument and they pull out the nigger card, if they are not able to converse or debate with me intellectually, and they resort to using the N-word as a Hail Mary for their talking point, then I've already won. I've already won. Because if you feel the need to use that word in order to get something from me, in order to make me collapse, then that says a lot more about where you stand as opposed to where I am. And so if I suffocate that word and keep it from garnering a reaction, a negative, a violent reaction, then it basically has fallen on a deaf ear. Now, again, many people may not agree with how I feel, and that's completely fine. But I'd rather focus on people that love me instead of people that don't, no matter how loud they may be. And that's just me. That is only me. That is only Tarod Rashawn. So with that being said, I now want to play a brief audio clip from a reporter from MSNBC by the name of Allison Morrison. Now, during this time, she has come under scrutiny and attack because of a mix-up in the words that she was saying when reporting on the helicopter crash and the fatalities involved. So I want to play that clip.
The kind of athlete, the kind of star that was perfectly cast on the Los Angeles Lakers. Kavita, if I could ask you to stay with us, we're going to go to Bill Roden. He's joining me by phone. That's Bill Roden of ES.
Now, when this was first captured, I want to say one of the first places to host this particular segment was World Star Hip Hop. Now, World Star Hip Hop is, for many people, a source of all things trifling. In my youth, I looked at World Star Hip Hop a lot because there's a lot of funny stuff. There was a lot of interesting things, a lot of women doing videos. Like, it was a lot of stuff on there that for me at that time, it was entertaining. But I don't necessarily watch or subscribe to World Star Hip Hop anymore because it does not suit me nor fit me in where I am in my journey right now. But that clip sparked incredible outrage because this reporter was thought to have said Los Angeles niggers and then quickly corrected herself to say Lakers. Now, just keep in mind that in studies have actually been proven that the brain can be swayed to hear what it wants to hear with proper auditory instruction. So I can only imagine that if you're listening for the word nigger, that is exactly what you will hear. It is. But where one person hears the N-word, you can also hear nakers. Let's listen again.
The kind of athlete, the kind of star that was perfectly cast on the Los Angeles Lakers. Kavita, if I could ask you to stay with us, we're going to go to Bill Roden. He's joining me by phone. That's Bill Roden of ES.
So even for me, that was a bit of an experience for me. And also an experiment because honestly, I could hear both. I can hear nigger and I can also hear nakers. It just depends on what I'm actually listening for. But this clip is the latest source of outrage in the black community. People are calling for her firing. People are telling her she needs to be banned from television, all of this. But my question is this. Why does this in MSNBC or even Allison Morrison herself matter so much? Why? I can only imagine that a lot of us were not even watching MSNBC when this particular story was covered in the way that it was covered. I found out on Twitter from Adrian Wojnarowski, who is a sports analyst and probably one of the most trusted sources when it comes to sports information. I found out from him. And then later I saw this video. But why does this matter so much? Because historically, black Americans, whether admitted or not, we value the voices and opinions of white Americans more than our own. I hear it a lot. I hear a lot of black people who have, in recent times and also in the past, talked about the man. The man is always trying to hold us down, and the man is always trying to keep us from opportunity. And to me, things like that continue to put us in a state of perpetual victimhood. And to be honest, we say all kinds of things to, about, and against one another with little to no outrage at all. But if a white American says the same thing, we're ready to jump them outside their job, outside their house. We are ready to fight. I find that to be incredibly crazy, because to allow a specific group of people to have so much control over how we feel emotionally is crazy. It is insane. Why don't we ever get outraged with each other? I feel like because of familiarity and also cultural and societal norms, we're just used to it. We can say all types of things about each other. But because we look like one another, it just passes. There's also a severe lack of accountability, except in the most extreme cases. Oftentimes, we'd rather hold somebody else who doesn't look like us more accountable than we hold ourselves. And that's not right. This is the same basis that says black people cannot be racist. Yes, the fuck we can. And if you don't want to call it racist, you can call it bigoted, prejudiced, any other word that culminates into the definition that states a dislike for someone based on things that they cannot control about themselves, which is their skin color, their genealogy, their familial history. They cannot control that. So yes, I do believe, really, that anyone can be racist, including black Americans. I don't think it is unfair of me to say that, because it's true. Any human can be racist, prejudiced, bigoted, discriminatory towards any other human. They can. Hell, black people are racist against black people. The fact that we value as a collective black people whose skin tone is lighter, and we absolutely abhor black people whose skin tone is darker, says a lot. That's going to be another episode. But I just want to let you all know that it is prevalent in our own community, and it's sad. It is incredibly sad. We should really be outraged about that. But where is it? Where is the outrage when it comes to how we treat our own? I'm going to take another break because I don't want to just continue talking about the issues. I want to start getting into how we can solve these issues, how we can combat these problems, and how we can actually work towards not just being outraged at an issue or a problem that surfaces, but working towards creating and becoming the solution. So we're going to take one more break, and we're going to talk exactly about that. This is TARODCAST, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We have now reached the tail end of the show, and we are going to be talking about how we can combat outrage, because I know for me, I do not have time to be in a constant state of anger and outrage. And so let's dive into it, shall we? Now, for me, I say this because there's too much love in my heart to always want to be outraged or mad at something. I don't possess the ability, nor do I have the time to be on a constant lookout for things to be mad at. There are people who are, and you know what? That is their job. It is not my job. If anything, I want to be part of the solution that eradicates the problem that started the outrage. But I want to do it in a way where we don't focus on the source of the outrage, but instead we focus on ourselves and what we can do in order to eliminate the problems that inspire the outrage. So in combating that, I feel like one of the things that we can do is to figure out the problem as well as the symptoms and find out what is necessary from us to make it better. So in this situation, since I'm not somebody who watches MSNBC, I just wouldn't watch MSNBC. I'm not going to give attention to anything that, or Fox News or programs that are specifically designed to target and belittle people who look like me. I'm not going to give it time. If I give it time, I will continue to stay in a perpetual state of anger. And that will eventually cloud all the love that I know I am able to give to this world and to give to people who choose to love me. For me, going on social media and delivering tirades, justifying outrage, is not enough to solve the problem. I feel like social media has given so many people a voice, but it has also weakened their ability to take action. We feel as if going on social media is our way of contributing to the issue at hand, and we leave it at that. But I don't think that that is effective, because although the comments may be there, if nothing is being done, if you're not a part of the solution, then it's an empty point. I also feel like if we develop ourselves as individuals whose actions speak for our words, we will show progress towards making a solution and being a solution to the problem at hand. Talking only goes so far, but walking the walk, instead of simply and only talking the talk, is what will allow us to completely dismantle the problems that we face. And also understanding that, simply put, we can't innately change other people. But if we, you and I, are the embodiment of the change, then we have a chance to inspire other people to do and be better. It starts with us. Michael Jackson said, "I'm looking at the man in the mirror." The man in the mirror is the only person you have direct influence over. So if you can affect that person, that man or woman that you see in your mirror, when it's just you, then you have the capability of being a component that can inspire the change necessary to do away with the problems that affect us. And lastly, what we really need to do is leave ignorance in the place where it exists. As long as we do not exist within its sphere of influence, we won't be affected. I'm going to paraphrase something that Janelle Monáe said on Twitter, but she said something along the lines of, why is it that ignorant and racist people don't just go and live on a commune somewhere and just be together and just have their own little place to spout their negativity and just leave all of us alone? I agree with that. I do. I feel like, honestly, it would truly make this world a much, much better place. And with that being said, I stop and think about the fact that we do have the ability to bring about in this world what we set our minds to bringing about. This works in both positive and negative ways. I know for me, when I think about how I am able to allow my influence to reach, I want to do so in a way that uplifts people and gives them every opportunity possible to be the best person that they can be. I want to be able to inspire conversations, easy conversations and hard conversations, but conversations nonetheless, because for me, I thrive on conversations. I want to learn. If I am wrong, I will allow myself to be wrong, but I won't stop there, because I will then gain the knowledge needed to reform and reshape my perspective on the issue at hand. And that in turn is going to give me the opportunity to be the best person I can be. And so for me, I am welcome to any and all conversations, whether or not I have the knowledge equipped to speak on it. Because if I don't, then I won't speak on it, but I'll instead listen. And it's said that oftentimes the smartest person in a conversation is the one who listens and not the one who talks. I want to be that person, and I'm going to be that person. I just want to thank you all once again for listening to another episode of TARODCAST. You all know where to find us. You all know how to support us. Make sure that if you have a spare moment, if your podcast streaming service allows you, leave us a 5-star review. I also, again, want to encourage all of you to be more introspective and vulnerable with yourself. Know who you are and love who you are. I love you. I thank you for being here with me. And I hope that you make every effort to find and keep your peace.